Hi everyone, I'd like to welcome you to our latest remote conversations for the SAG-AFTRA Foundation. My name's Lesley O'Toole. I'm a Los Angeles-based British, obviously, journalist. I work for Backstage in the Los Angeles Times. Before we start with our very special guest, I just want to remind you that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is working to raise money for COVID relief. If you're interested or able to contribute, we will be most grateful, and you can find all the information in the comments. Anyway, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our amazing star, Ashley Walters. He is one of our most exciting British talents, and I'm so thrilled that he's here with us. He's got much too long a resume. We'll go into it during our conversation, but you might have seen him in Top Boy on Netflix. The third season is airing now, and you'll be seeing him shortly on the CW in the new season of Bulletproof, alongside another top British star and pal of Ashley's, Noel Clarke. So welcome, Ashley. We're so thrilled to have you here from London. It's raining in LA. How is it in London right now?
It's quite warm, actually.
Oh, good.
The sun's out, yeah. Temperatures, I mean, it's not blazing, but it's warm enough for UK. You know how it is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really good to be speaking to you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So let's start with Top Boy. I mean, what a story this show is. For those that don't know, 2 seasons ran of this show on Channel 4 in the UK from 2011 to 2013. It proved a launch pad for names like Letitia Wright and was hugely acclaimed and hugely popular, and as things happen, was not renewed until this Canadian dude called Drake found it on Netflix, reached out to you and said, what the heck, we need to get this show back on the road. So, I mean, it's so incredible to think it's back and better than ever after all this time. But can you just talk us through that journey, first of all?
Well, yeah, I can. Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting journey. When Channel 4 said that they wasn't going to continue the show, I kind of made it my life's work to kind of go out and get it back on, you know. So the plan was to kind of arouse some enthusiasm from Cowboy, who were the production company, in order to get them to, you know, to find another home for it. So that's how kind of everything started. And then I woke up one day, and Drake, you know, I saw like 69 or something messages on my phone, and it was a lot of them were from my friends, kind of directed me to Drake's Instagram page, I think it was, or maybe it was Twitter. So I did, and there was a picture of me on his main feed, and it was a comment about, I think it was like hashtag Top Boy will rise again or something like that. So, you know, obviously I was kind of overwhelmed. I thought, you know, I didn't realize that the show was kind of made that sort of impact. And then eventually, I mean, one thing led to another, and he contacted me through managers and other people. And we just had a discussion about the show. And basically he said that he was a huge fan of the show. And when's it coming back? And in a nutshell, you know, I said, it's not happening. And then cut to a year and a half later, he came back to us with a deal, from Netflix. And I mean, for us, it was obviously amazing, revived the whole thing. So kind of, you know, getting back into that character, bringing that story back and the journey back was a big thing for all of us over here. And as you probably know, in the UK, Top Boy is, I mean, it's huge. You know, everyone loves it across the board. It doesn't matter what age you are, color, or where you're from, kind of everyone's into it. So for everyone here, we're all buzzing about it. And then, you know, to see billboards up in Times Square and Sunset Boulevard or whatever, it's the kind of like, you know, you can't ask for anything more, really.
Yeah. So for anyone who hasn't seen the previous seasons, can you just talk about what Duchesne has gone through between seasons 1 and 2 and now, and how it was for you to pick up a character after so long?
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, from Duchesne's story, I suppose, has been, Duchesne started as a young kid from a council estate in East London who had dreams of, you know, selling drugs and becoming a kingpin. But he, you know, I think the difference with that character is that his whole thing has been about doing it whilst the neighborhood is peaceful. So making sure that everyone eats, and making sure that everyone's taken care of, so no one wants to kill him and no one wants to kill each other. And he quickly learns along the way that it just doesn't work like that. It's kind of like a Breaking Bad, Walter White realization that actually the crime and the violence and all that stuff has to go with it. And it's just how you organize that. So, that's kind of his journey. And I suppose where we find him now is that he's at a place in his life where he's a lot older, like I am. And he wants to plan his exit route. He wants to know how this is going to end. Whereas before, he probably didn't worry too much about it. And then when it comes to me picking up the character, I mean, I've spent 10 years off and on pretty much kind of working on this guy. So the minute you get back into the clothes, you're with the other actors, you've read the scripts, it just comes back to you like that. It's like muscle memory. I suppose there'd be other roles maybe it would be a harder transition for me, but with Deshane, it's like putting my hand in a glove. It's fine.
So what has been the most exciting thing for you about coming back to this show?
I suppose the fact that I think I'm probably a bit more creatively involved in what's going on. So I'm helping to shape the scripts more, and kind of overall all of that, and just having a bit more say on kind of where the story goes. And for me, the stage where I am in my career right now, that's the route I kind of want to go down. I think I've got enough experience to be able to help shape the story and help push the story from conception rather than just from an actor's point of view. So that's been a really good thing for me, coming back to it with a more experienced head. But then, you can't take away the whole the strobe lights and the limelight that everyone's got from it, and the fact that just Drake being involved, where the show's been able to go. It's been amazing for us. The people I've spoken to, the people that I know have watched the show that I look up to around the world, other artists, actors, and whatever. It's just amazing to know that people are actually watching some of my work, like I've been watching theirs.
Who else have you heard from that really enjoys it?
Oh, God. I mean, first of all, I've got a good friend who used to work for Rock Nation under Jay-Z. So I know personally that Jay-Z's watched it,
Wow.
which is, for me, that's it's brilliant to know. And I've had a few people have reached out to me, not himself, but reached out to me from his team that are kind of, really interested in the show. And then, you've got people like LeBron James. I mean, look, the list is endless, and I could show you my DM. You go on social media sometimes and you kind of look in your DMs, and there's people in there that you've been watching and looking up to for your whole career that are kind of congratulating you on what you've done. It's an amazing feeling.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And why do you think the show has such huge international appeal? And I'm just curious, Drake, obviously a Canadian, if he had any thoughts on that, if there's anything he's brought to it to increase that broad appeal, because I mean, it's for everybody.
Yeah, I'd say, listen, I mean, like I said, having Drake involved, Drake is like a magnet for the world, really, when it comes to, if you want to, he's the best person to have talking about the project that you're doing. But I feel like the themes of the show relate to everyone. There's an estate like this everywhere in the world, I have loads of people from the favelas in Brazil reaching out to me online, and all different places around the world have their own section and their own community, I suppose, or group of people that are making money in this sort of way, and they can relate, they understand it. This is not just a story about drugs. It's actually a story about humans being human, and how we treat each other, and our journey from children into men or to women, and how our environment affects that, and what it does to us. So that's mainly what the story is about, and those things happen are happening all over the world. So, I mean, Drake especially, I think one thing that he related to was, because if you go to, I spent a long time in Canada shooting a movie way back in the day. But what I realized about Toronto was, more than any other place in the world, it reminded me of London. And when I say that, it was that there was, there was a very, so the Caribbean community there existed the same way that I saw them exist in the UK, and what I'd grown up seeing. So there was a real close affiliation there, and I've got a lot of family members over there. So has my wife. So it's so the community is kind of, it's a really rich Caribbean community out there, but they really connect with the UK more than they do with the States, I'd say, with the US. So I think it's easy for Canadians to get it.
Absolutely. And obviously there's such a strong family thread through it all. I mean, there was a scene where the three brothers were sitting on a park bench in episode 2 of season 3, and I was just so emotional. I just thought it was so beautiful that there's so much, real humanity in the show. I really find it very deep, touching.
I mean, that's what, for us, that's what it's all about. We're never going to tell stories like this, especially stories like Top Boy. I think are really delicate, because you are telling the story of people's lives, and there is a tendency for people to embellish and glamorize these sort of things, and give people the wrong idea. A lot of people that are watching it have never been into this world, so we always try to make it as authentic as possible. So even the people that we're representing believe it, and that's what we've been able to do with Top Boy. But one thing that people kind of forget is that these are human beings, and when they're not selling drugs, they are taking care of their little brothers. They are, cooking dinner or doing homework with them, or whatever else they're doing. And on camera, I don't think they show, I don't think on, the media in general and TV and film show men being comfortable, just hugging each other and like friends and brothers, So in a lot of the scenes with the brothers, we have them laying on each other and, just being really cool with each other. It's natural, it's real.
Absolutely. And I mean, it looks like Michael Ward is already a huge breakout star of this show, and many more. I mean, the casting's phenomenal. Are you quite involved in that side also?
Yeah, definitely. I try to be. I mean, that's sometimes, a lot of us have different opinions on who should be in the show, who shouldn't, or whatever. So, and everyone's quite vocal at that stage. And you have to imagine, because the show's so huge, we have thousands and thousands of actors trying to apply for roles, even roles that don't exist, people are trying to get into the show. So, yeah, I mean, it's part of the process that is it gets quite touchy at times, but it's part of the process that I love the most. And I've come to realize that, for Top Boy, it's more than just a show, and it's become a place where new talent is found. It's kind of like, it has with not wanting to sound corny, it has an X Factor part of it that's behind the scenes. So kind of, it is really nice to see non-actors, people that have never acted before, been plucked from obscurity, come into the show, and then after go on to have an agent and fully fledged careers. And to watch that is amazing. So that you're changing lives and giving opportunities to people that wouldn't usually have them, that haven't had the background that would give them opportunities usually. So I really appreciate that.
Well, that's a good link into Bulletproof, because is there not a young actor you've been mentoring who plays a lead role in an upcoming episode of that and now has an agent, speaking of?
Yeah, so basically, there was a guy called John. I've been, he's from my area. I live in North London, in the UK. And, when I first moved around here, which was like 5 years ago, I met him in the park. He just came up to me and just approached me and kind of was pitch ready and was just like, I want to become an actor, and if you can ever get me into anything, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, long story short, we've been talking over that period of time, and I wrote episode 7 in the new season of Bulletproof that you guys are going to get. And I just decided to write a part for him in it, and give him a shot. And it happened, and he did really well. So he's guest starring in episode 7. He's done really well. He's got an agent after it. He's gone on to make some music. And I mean, the bottom line is that he's not doing what he was doing before, because he has some hope and a career now. And I try and do that for people as much as I can. I'm not the most hard-working charity worker. I'm not going to sit here and go and say I'm doing charity all day long, but where I can help people, I will.
I think you're selling yourself a little short there, because you do charity work. You do work for the Prince's Trust. And you said when you met Prince Charles, he knew who you were. And you also have an acting school. So, and I hear you're even going to open another one possibly in Birmingham School. I mean, you're doing an enormous amount for your community and beyond your community, giving, so much talent opportunities that you never had. I mean, it's extraordinary, and congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. I was just being humble and kind of prompting you to say it for me, Lesley. So
of course. Well, there you go. You need to get a shout out for it. So Bulletproof, I mean, is it true that it really did initially begin because you and Noel Clarke, were constantly up for the same roles? And I mean, is it as simple as you decided, let's team up?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of was. I mean, before the point that we started developing Bulletproof, we knew of each other. We said hi and goodbye, but we hardly spoke. And that was kind of, it's an industry thing. It's just like, there's 5 black guys in the room, only one of you are going to get the job. And it becomes a competition, I suppose, in some way. So, I used to walk through a door and see him sitting there and want to walk back out, because you'd feel like, I'm not going to get this. And like he always says, if he was working, I wasn't, so I was poor, he was rich, and vice versa. So there's some sort of resentment that builds up, even though there shouldn't be. I think we had a really enlightening moment, defining moment, when we met backstage at an award ceremony. And we just spoke, and I was really candid, I think, about, I was like, bro, I've heard so many things about you, and a lot of people don't like you and whatever. And he was kind of said the same thing to me. And then we kind of discussed a bit why that was. And then that conversation ended in us saying, let's meet for a coffee to talk about working together, and cut to us sitting in a Starbucks in, there are other coffee shops, but Starbucks in Oxford Street or Tottenham Court Road, putting together the skeletons of what is now Bulletproof. It was like an 8-year journey, but we got there, and we're over the moon,
The 2 shows are quite different in tone.
Oh, yeah.
How is it moving between them, and what does each of those give you as an actor that perhaps the other doesn't? I mean, obviously you've got the whole buddy aspect of Bulletproof, which is, something very different.
Well, it's just, basically it's 2 different, like you said, the show is 2 different tones, and kind of what you see on screen is kind of what behind the scenes is like on each of those sets. So Top Boy, you're dealing with a lot of, the actors that have acted before in Top Boy are very into method. So Kano, we hardly speak throughout the day because he stays in character. So does Ashley Thomas and a lot of the other actors. Whereas on Bulletproof, and this is not to say that we're unprofessional, but me and Noel, we're literally rolling on the floor laughing all day.
I thought that might be the case.
That's pretty much what it is. So it's good to get a taste of both. And I think what I was saying before when it cut off was playing Deshane, as brilliant, as great as the show looks afterwards, and as powerful as he looks as a character, playing him is pretty boring. It is a lot of, go to the shop and get that, or go and pick this up, or, and driving somewhere, or telling someone to do something. But I never get to do any of the action, the running or the shooting or this or that. So it's nice to kind of, to have to be serious in that, but then get to go and do Bulletproof and let loose and just have fun. So.
In which you do get to do quite a lot of the action, right? You're always saying, I don't want to say too much because we do have stunt people. But you do get to do a little more on that set.
Yeah, we do. I mean, traditionally in when it comes to stunts, you're very unlikely. It's very unlikely that stunt coordinators are going to let you do a lot of the amazing stunts that you see. But with this, me and Noel have been very bullish in a sense that we kind of, we want to get our Tom Cruise on and do as much as we can ourselves. We want to be Jackie Chan. So we've been pushing as much as possible. And in turn, I've been doing a lot of my own driving. So I'd say I do at least do like 90% of the driving in the show, which has been amazing for me. So I've been on courses, rally courses and classes and stuff like that to kind of help me. So that's been really cool.
Not thrilled about that,
it's nice to challenge it. I know, it's crazy, but no has been injured every season so far. I've yet to have an injury, so go figure. Yeah.
Wow, what sort of injuries?
I mean, nothing too bad. He had the last one he had was pretty bad. He literally cut open his knee on the corner of a window that we were jumping through in a scene. Literally just ripped his knee open. But he carried on filming for the rest of the day, and then I had to get doctors and patched up or whatever. But I mean, yeah, he's kind of. I think in season one of the stunt guys dropped on his leg, tore a ligament, so he was out for a week or so. Then, so he kind of he gets injured a lot. But touch wood, I'm still there. I'm good.
Yeah. Did you realise right away that you would have this great chemistry on set? Because I mean, chemistry for any sort of buddy project is just as important as romantic chemistry, and you guys are so extraordinary together. I mean, did the first time you saw yourselves on screen together, were you like, wow, or were you expecting it?
Yeah, well, on set, listen, like I said, on set it was so funny, but you can often be lulled into a full sense of security sometimes when it's funny in the moment. It doesn't necessarily mean that when people watch it, it's going to be funny. So there's always that thing in the back of your mind, like, will it work? But when I actually first watched it on screen, it was a completely different show to what I thought we were making in the beginning. It kind of took on a whole new life to me, and had a tone that I'd never seen in UK a cop drama before. So I was pretty amazed. And lucky enough, like you say, the show kind of sits on the fact that it sits on their relationship. I don't know whether the show would work without it.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite an unusual dynamic for the UK. Obviously, this is much more of an American tradition. I mean, I've even heard Starsky and Hutch mentioned, which I'm old enough to remember. But obviously, it's Bad Boys. It makes me think of Lethal Weapon. Why do you think, this hasn't really been done in the UK? And is that also key to this show's international success?
Yeah, I mean, look, to be honest, if we're talking about two black leads, like a Martin Lawrence and a Will Smith in Bad Boys, and why that hasn't been done in the UK up until now, then, I mean, it's systemic. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, we when we were trying to push this show in the beginning, we faced a lot of doors were shut in our face, and a lot of people would be quite candid about their opinions, and they didn't think that it would work with two black leads, or they just didn't know how they would sell it in certain territories, and that doesn't make them racist. That was just them saying that this is how the industry is, and we fought against that to get to where we are. So for us, we just got to be proud that it's there and it's on screen, and it stands as an example of what you can do if you stick to your guns. And also, now that door is open, so maybe going forward there'll be more people will be braver to write shows like that, and you're seeing them come. There's been shows that are coming like that afterwards. But I really do think for us growing up, we grew up on the American formula. We grew up on the American buddy formula, Bad Boys and all of that stuff. So for us, it was a no-brainer. But you're right, in the UK, what we had was Miss Marple, you know. I grew up watching Poirot, Murder She
Yeah.
Wrote, things like that, which are great, and I would never disrespect those shows because I grew up watching them. But finally, you know, there's something that takes itself less seriously, and is about coming home from work, sitting down, turning the TV on, and unwinding. You know, you don't want to have to think too much about it. Just enjoy it.
Now, you and Noel are both, you know, extremely successful creatives. You both have your own production companies. Did you feel that you had to do that for the sake of your own career, or as part of that also wanting to create opportunities for, you know, that you didn't have when you were a teenager, for example? Obviously, you know, you had a very successful career in So Solid Crew in music. But, you know, we touched on that before. You are creating so many opportunities, not just for yourself, but for other people in the industry. I mean, you know, it's my sense that people like you guys have revolutionized, you know, this part of the British entertainment world, really.
Well, yeah, look, I'm glad you said it, and so I don't have to once again, but it's a bit of both for me. I did realize, I got to a stage in my career where I realized that in order for me to get the roles I want to get, or play the roles I want to play, I might have to start creating them myself, because I just wasn't getting offered the parts that I thought I could do. So, you know, Bulletproof for me and Noel those characters are characters we've always wanted to play. We've just had the freedom to be able to create them. And then obviously creating other opportunities for others. I mean, being in a position, being executive producer on the show, it's a huge responsibility, because it's not just a credit for us. We are actually literally in writers' rooms every day and writing the scripts and doing whatever, and very active on set. But you get the opportunity at that point to give people their first, and I enjoy doing that. So, you know, a new makeup stylist or makeup designer or wardrobe designer that would usually be overlooked at this stage in their career, but you really believe in them, you can give them that opportunity and fight their corner, and they go on to do better things. So that part of it for me is really cool, but the stress that goes with it is immense.
Yeah, but it's all worth it, right?
Yeah, it's all worth it. It's all worth it.
I did have a little giggle when Duchesne says his line about, you know, I'm 36, I feel like I would have achieved so much more, you know, talking as if he's a failure. And you're 37 and you've achieved so much. I mean, does it blow your mind?
No, not really. I'm going to give you a really blunt answer. This is what it's kind of, when you think about it, I think everyone will kind of have a bit of this in them, but for me, I'm never satisfied. There's always something else, and I'm really scared of being complacent or satisfied or comfortable, because I believe that that's the beginning of my demise. Excuse me, Lesley, sorry. So I'm always kind of trying to stay active and think about what the next thing is. And if I'm honest, deep down, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. So I don't look at myself the way everyone else does. But I hope that's a good thing.
So I hear you're making a return to music.
Yes, I am. Yes, maybe not a return. I've never left really. But
right.
I suppose I haven't been as hungry about it as I was back in the day. So the hunger came back. I made a decision beginning of last year that I was going to start putting out music, a track every month. I did for the first 6 months of last year. That resulted in, you know, some attention from some labels. So I've got some music representation and some people around me now, and we're putting a project together for the end of the year. But I mean, other than music, I am also getting into directing. So I've always wanted to direct. I've never been given the opportunity, but I found an amazing short script written by a guy called Jerome Holder from the UK. Who
is this the one that has a feel of the Goonies?
Yeah. I'm always talking about Goonies. That's my favorite movie in the whole world. So you should be in my writer's room every writer I talk to, I'm like, make it like the Goonies. If it's like the Goonies, it'll be good. So this is like a short film. It's about two boys that go on this amazing journey, but a rites to passage sort of piece. But I'm going to be directing that as soon as lockdown's over. We're getting back by Sky, but that's through my production company. So everything, there's loads of things happening, and I'm getting to actually do the things that I want to do now, rather than kind of be forced into creativity.
Fantastic. Now, did you get to film the special in South Africa for Bulletproof, or not yet?
Yeah, we did. So we literally finished, I'd say, a week before we were locked down in the UK. So we just got off the plane, and then
wow, you're so lucky.
Yeah, went straight into isolation. Very lucky, actually, because I may not have been able to come back as quick as I did. But anyway, we shot out there. We just locked our first episode, and we're editing the rest now. So it's all going. It's all a go. Hopefully that will be out in the autumn. But it's a special. It's a 3-parter. It's just something that we wanted to do to fill in the time, so you guys weren't lost without Bulletproof for another year.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, on that note, thank you so much for your time, Ashley. It's so lovely to meet you, even virtually. I can't wait to see what's coming up for you, and all the very best.
Thank you very much, Lesley. Good to meet you.
And you. Bye-bye.